Welcome back, world. Welcome to my show. You're in the living room. Normally it's a lot darker in here. We like to call it the Bat Cave. Close all the blinds, shut off the lights. But that's not conducive to excellent YouTube video content creating making. Yeah. Today I have another story for you. This one is much more difficult for me. I've actually never told this story. So let's just jump right into it. When I was a kid, up until I was 10 years old, we lived in Washington State. And just about every summer, we would go camping at the state park called Kopachuk. From what I remember of it, it was really pretty and forestry-like, and we would tromp through the woods and go down to the beach and play in the ocean, which I got on Google Maps and found out that was not the ocean. Whatever. There was like this huge lake that we thought was, the Pacific Ocean, and we had a lot of fun. Now this particular story takes place, I want to say, in 1993. I'm like 99% positive it's 1993. That'd make me 9 years old, my brother would be 7, and then my sister would be 3. That year, we were given a camper. It was this tiny little camper. We were so excited, my brother and I were so excited to go camping and sleep in this camper. We thought that would just be the bee's knees. And it was so tiny that we were able to use it because we could tow it behind the Ford Taurus that was our family sedan at the time. This particular trip, we go out to Kopachuk. My parents set us up, the 3 of us kids, in that camper while they set themselves up in their own little tent, which as an adult I realize now it was only because that was a very tiny camper. We were having a lot of fun that night. We were roasting marshmallows, we were eating hot dogs, playing Go Fish. The root beer was flowing pretty freely that night. I in fact specifically remember belching the words "Go Fish" on accident and everybody just dying of laughter. We were having a good time. And then it happens. I wake up in the middle of the night in the most immense pain. And I know, oh crap, I'm in trouble. Get to the door, which was only 2 steps away because it was a tiny camper, but the door will not open. It's a typical door handle with one of those locks in it and a barrel lock, kind of latch type of thing. I'm only 9 years old, but at this point, I have a pretty good handle on how to operate this minimally challenging piece of equipment. Force to try to turn the handle, nothing. I'm pushing and jerking at the door, pushing it back and forth, nothing. That's all happened real fast. And I don't remember if I called out to my parents or if they heard me struggle and came to help. Open the door, Chris. Open the door, Chris. Open the door, Chris. Yeah, I'm like trying to do that already. Duh. What you want? The anxiety of the situation is asphyxiating. Then it really happens. The pain I've been enduring has been the overabundance of urine in my tiny 9-year-old little bladder. I can no longer contain the pain or the resistance to flow, and my body relieves itself without my consent. I am no longer having a good night. After I piss all over myself, the door magically opens all on its own. That's just bad timing. Now, as horrific as this all sounds, I have left out a few key pieces of detail. The plot thickens, the story gets worse. Like I said, this was a very small camper. The sleeping arrangements for the 3 of us were not the best. I remember my brother and I were sleeping on this table that converted into a tiny little bed, and my sister just fit between the base of that bed and the door in the walkway. And yeah, when that fateful moment took its place in history and my bladder could no longer contain the contents and my hold it mechanism would no longer hold it, the flow took its path and set forth all over my sister. We are not having a good night. She woke up in the middle of the rainstorm and cried out, "He's peeing on me! He's peeing on me!" Panicking and trying to retain any type of situation control and calmness, I responded, "No, I'm not." I am paralyzed in humiliation and shame at this point. My body is shutting down on me, all except for my bladder and urinary tract, which seems to be operating at top performance. Oh, my poor little sister. This is no way to wake up. So as traumatic as this event was, it does not end there. Because my brother loves to tell this story and embarrass the crap out of me whenever we get together. He knows that I hate it, but he can't resist to tell it. Which, in some type of sick and twisted way, I kind of understand. Because if this story was about him peeing on my sister, I knew that he didn't like it when I told it. I would have a hard time resisting as well. I must tell that story. I must. So he must tell it. He must tell it, especially in front of a significant other. Oh, did you tell her about the time that we went camping? Oh yeah, that time. Yeah, that one time. That one night in our entire life. That's the one. Yeah, I bring that up on first dates. I tell everybody, strangers. I bring it up in interviews and when I'm prospecting for a new job. Everybody knows about that night. No, I haven't told anybody about that night. Then he tells it. Chris peed on our sister, and we had to get rid of the camper, and we only got to use the camper once. And don't go camping with Chris, because he always ruins camping, and he might pee on you. And everyone's like, ew, and laughs, and thinks it's hilarious. And I'm all sitting there like, embarrassing. So I may have embellished that last bit a little bit, but he always seems to remember the key detail about our sister yelling out, "Oh, he's peeing on me," and me saying that I wasn't. It is ridiculous. I admit, but I was 9, okay? Jeez. The story continues. Fast forward to 2012. We're all drinking and friends and having a good time, and my now wife was there, with us, and my brother's like, "Oh, did you tell her about that time that we went camping?" And I decided that no, this time you're not gonna get to say it. I'm gonna say it because that will make me maybe look a little less weird by owning it. That was the thought process in my mind at the time. Boy, was I mistaken. And I'm like, "Oh, you mean that time that I peed on our sister?" Said it like all casual and, "Are you talking about that time specifically?" "Yeah." And my wife was like, "Oh my God, you peed on your sister? Oh my God." And then everybody kept repeating, "Oh my God, you peed on your sister. Oh my God, you peed on your sister." I'm trying to defend myself, and I'm like, I didn't want to pee on my sister. And then everybody's just dying at that point. This was clearly worse than just letting my brother tell the story. I was not having a good time. Actually, now that I think about it, was kind of funny. Anyway, the story does not end there. Fast forward a couple more years, 2014, my mom and stepdad come to visit, having some drinks and telling stories. We're talking about old times. I bring up how somebody doesn't ever let me live down that one time I accidentally peed on my sister. And my mom looks at me and says, "Well, your father put a padlock on that door from the outside so no weirdos could get to you kids." Whoa. Pump the brakes. Pump the brakes. What? What did I just hear? Excuse me? You mean to tell me that I've been carrying around this burden of shame and humiliation for over 20 years when he was the one that locked us in there and never owned up to it, allowing me to take the fall? Anybody could have peed on anybody at this point. And I began to feel this wave of relief come over me. Probably much in the same manner as the relief I experienced that night, all over my poor little sister. Story does not end here. Recently, I was chatting with my brother and we were texting and we were talking about old times. And he says, "Oh, by the way, I still love telling that hilarious story about you peeing on our little sister." I'm like, "Oh, glad you brought that up, because some new information has come to light. There's more details in this case." Dun 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 dun. It's lawyer talk. I explained to him how the camper was locked from the outside, and no matter what, there would have been no way I would have been able to get out of the camper, and how embarrassing it has always been every time he tells that story. And he's like, "Oh man, that is messed up. Well, I understand. Don't worry, I won't tell that story anymore." And suddenly another wave of relief. Oh yeah, We are having moments of cleansing. So even more recently, we were texting each other back and forth and talking about could make a video together and maybe do more story time videos like this. And he's like, oh, don't worry. We don't have to tell that one story. And I'm like, you know what? You've been telling that story for like 26 years. I think it's time that I tell that story. I tell it in the perspective it should have been told, and in chronological order, and with the new evidence that dun 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 dun. Oh, Christopher Maloney. Especially now that we have all the facts of the case. I think that's a pretty fair compromise, wouldn't you say, world? Wouldn't you say? So, that is the story of me peeing on my sister. I don't know how she feels about that story. She probably doesn't like the fact that our brother tells it either. I'm only assuming. Oh, remember that night our brother peed on you? Right on your face? I'm sure that goes over well, right? Anyway, if you thought this story was funny, let me know. If you're wondering what that is, it's our family creepy tree. Has pictures of our family on the tree. Alright, you know what to do. Comment, engage me into conversation. That's what I want from you. I want some participation. I mean, I'm doing this to you. You could do it back to me, if you will. And I would like that. So good. So very, very good. Bye now.